Hello, everyone. I hope you all are having a good morning, evening, afternoon, or midnight, and I hope this presentation makes it better. I trust you've been having fun in your MUNs, but definitely not as much as you're about to. My name is Afrah, whatever floats your boat, and I'm going to be giving you a workshop on taking action, entrepreneurship, and raising awareness. So let's get right into it. For a brief, this is a 4-segment workshop. So first, I'm going to be talking about my own work with LiveX, maybe guiding you on some tips on how you can find your own passion. And then a 2-part segment of taking action, which would include entrepreneurship and raising awareness. So I've heard from many people that you all would like to get to know me before I drone on and on. So let me do that for you. My name is Afra, and my brain is right there. As you can see, I love basketball, I love people, I love my friends, I love thinking outside of the box and coming up with new and unconventional ideas. I love psychology, and yes, I did put pictures of brains inside of my brain to signify that. And I also love ice cream. All right, so I'll be talking about what LiveX is, kind of our plan, so maybe you can glean something from that, outreach, and how we've been keeping going. So, what is it? LiveX is an AI-powered mental health application that provides comprehensive and personalized mental health upkeep. And yes, I know that sounds like a very pre-recorded sentence because it kind of is. To elaborate, LiveX is everything you need for your mental health. It connects you with psychologists and offers you personalized suggestions and tips, completely customized to yourself and comprehensive with most everything you could need in the private and accessible format of your phone, because I realized that a main issue in getting mental health care is stigma and inaccessibility. So, all your mental health needs, anytime and anywhere. Kind of our unofficial tagline. Plan. So, what have I been doing? Well, for one, outreach, which is something you'll hear me talking about a lot. One way I'm doing that is through hosting awareness events, something I've just done last week at my school. And you will be surprised at how much impact you, a teenager, are able to have through awareness events. I've gotten so many comments personally telling me how much I've been able to help. And, even if one student was helped, it would have all been worth it. I really recommend to you to do awareness events because they can have a huge impact. And I think that's one of the most important issues in a lot of the world's problems is a lack of awareness and a lack of understanding. So another thing we're doing at LiveX is creating digital resources on the web, which is something in the making, not currently available. But I do want to emphasize to you all the power of technology as a force for good. You can really impact so many people around the world through tech. Since LiveX itself is a pretty advanced piece of tech, we're looking at getting funded. So since this is about entrepreneurship and LiveX is an entrepreneurial venture, we're pitching to investors, we're applying to awards, applying to accelerators, incubators, grants. Those are the kind of words you might hear. Also marketing, which is something I'll be talking about more about later. What we're doing is virtual promotion events. We're amassing a media following, which is something we're just starting to do. And I think my links are shared with you, and I would love, love, love if you could follow us on our Insta, Facebook, and LinkedIn. What we're going to do is post beautiful, positive quotes and just some things you might want to see to brighten up your feed. Also, part of entrepreneurship is partnerships and collaborations. Reach out to organizations that have a similar cause as you, but don't even limit yourself. Just reach out to people you might think aren't even that relevant. You could be surprised. Something else we're doing is tech development. We're pretty much recruiting a team right now. And I will say to you, if you're interested, passionate about mental health, psychology, technology, apply on our website under the Who page. There's an application form, and I would love to meet and work with some of you awesome people. Outreach. So now I'm going to be emphasizing outreach again. With LiveX, me just randomly reaching out to people I barely or didn't even know has gotten us so far. I've been able to gain incredibly awesome mentors from the likes of MIT, Harvard, and Microsoft. LiveX is to be featured in leading national media of the UAE. Outreach will get you places you never thought of. Always remember, we before me. And cold emailing works. It really, really does. You would be shocked. But I've been able to get in touch with so many awesome people just through cold emailing. And I'll say a pointer. When you're doing cold email is to find out about the person you're emailing first rather than a generic template. And people tend to ignore those. So if you saw someone at a conference or something, you just wanted to get in touch with them later, maybe try using LinkedIn. And I said saw. Now, if you met someone, I would say get their contact right then. Uh, Now, you might, when you're emailing them, you might want to find out what their interests are, tell them what you think. If you like their work, let them know. I really loved your work. Well, here's mine. Tell me what you think. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you might not really want to add that, but. And then another thing I will say is talk to every person near and out of sight. See what people think, gauge public interest, constantly garner feedback, and listen to what people think. It was really important for LiveX because only through talking to so many people, the first primitive idea I had sort of evolved into this. Now, I'll say a note on keep going, don't stop. Be consistent. Every single day, work a little step towards your end goal. What we're doing is we're holding awareness events, we're building a minimum viable product, marketing, research, applying to grants and accelerators. All right, so now I'll open up the chat to maybe one or two questions before I move on to the next segment. So go ahead and put the question into the chat and maybe I'll answer it. All right, so there's a question, who supported you in creating your app generally? And generally. So, well, the app itself is hasn't been created yet. It's going to be under development. But generally, first, obviously, start with your friends. See your friends, reach out, cold email, see who you can partner with. Kind of what I've been saying is that's how I've been able to reach out and get supporters. Talking to strangers, even. Those are the ways you can get initial support. What fueled your passion about psychology? I don't know. I just love psychology when I was born. I love psychology. What were some of the downfalls in my project and how did you overcome them? Well, I would say one really big roadblock was not being able to get funded. And how we're kind of overcoming that is we've sort of switched focus into marketing and media coverage, and that really helps in getting investors. So that's a tip for you all too in your entrepreneurial ventures. So I think, okay, how did you find that psychology is your passion? Well, I took a psychology course um, and just really fell in love through that. I don't think I'll be able to answer all of your questions right now, but I really hope we can get back to them in the Q&A. So finding your passions, I want to talk about you now. So I'm going to be going here about skills, interests, cause, and those three things are really what make your passion. And then I'll be talking about how you can link them to the sustainable development goals. So skills, identify the skills that you have and identify the skills that you need. And I want you all to sort of maybe make a note of these and write them down. So for example, with me, skills that I needed were entrepreneurship skills. I needed skills in artificial intelligence. And I had skills in psychology, for example. So I kind of put them all down on paper because you don't want them floating around your head. And make a note, and that's how you can sort of set out about learning them. And sort of put those through the chat. I'd love to see what are some skills that you want to learn, what are some skills that you need. Put them in the chat. Marketing. Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to be going over marketing. Hopefully I can help you with that. Leadership. It's really important. Entrepreneurship. I hope I can help today. Connecting with different people, negotiation and pitching. Awesome. So you're all in the right place, doing MUNs, attending this workshop. Hopefully that's the way to learn. I'm glad you're putting yourself out there, interacting with other people, making an impact, self-confidence. Awesome. All right. I think I'll move on. Now that you know the skills that you have and the skills that you need, what are your interests? For example, I love psychology, but what is it that you all like? So is it math, English, bio, chemistry, physics? Oh, some people saying biology, chemistry, history, science, psychology, English. Some of you all three. History, law. I love law. Awesome. Music. Great. Maths, biology, arts, language, education, geography. That's interesting. Okay, economics. Okay, I loved hearing all about you guys. All right, I think I'll move on to the next part. Cause. So now that you know your skills that you're going to need and the skills that you have, you found your interest, what cause do you want to commit yourself to? So for example, I chose mental health, but you can see there's so many things that are facing our world. What are some things that you're passionate about? Animal cruelty, breast cancer, poverty. So I'm seeing through the chat, there's gender inequality, human trafficking. So those are also such important causes. I'm happy to see passionate people. All right. So poverty, starvation, child labor, quality education, world peace, food waste, children in foster care. Those are awesome causes. So now that you have your skills, your interests, and your cause, you can sort of make that your passion. So for example, my skills in AI and psychology, my interests in psychology, my cause of mental health sort of evolved into this passion that translated into LiveX. So I hope you all can sort of find a way to link these all together for yourself and find your passion. Do any of you have any ideas of your passions? I'd love to read. And I'll just kind of move on since we're a bit short on time with the Sustainable Development Goals. So the Sustainable Development Goals were pretty much goals that the the United Nations agreed upon for obviously sustainable development. There are 17 such goals. I'll just sort of briefly read through them. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnership for the goals. Yeah, that was a mouthful. But I'm so happy to read through the chat that there's so many of you committed to these goals. So many of you are passionate, and I'm so excited to see what things you come up with. And I kind of just put the slice of pizza there because there was an empty space and it was bothering me. I might have been hungry. So now, next segment, we're going to be talking about taking action, entrepreneurship. A lot of you are excited for that. So I'm going to be talking about educating yourself, how you can plan outreach. Of course, that's something I'm really passionate about, and how you can keep going. So we have already identified the skills that you need and you want to have. Now it's the time to learn them. So I also want to sort of differentiate between the skills. So there are niche skills and there are broad skills. So niche skills, for my example, would have been artificial intelligence. For you, that could be mechanical engineering. It could be website design. It could be plumbing even. So it really could be anything and really tailored to whatever your entrepreneurial venture is. And then there are broadly applicable skills. So those would fall under two categories: soft skills and entrepreneurial skills. So under soft skills are public speaking, which is something that you will really need to learn as an entrepreneur, because you'll be pitching to investors, you'll be pitching to get people on board your team, you'll be pitching to a lot of people. So you really need to hone your public speaking skills, which is something I'm sure you're all doing through your general speakers lists in the MUN. Research. So you definitely need to learn how to do research, market research, research on what's going on about your issue itself, your passion. You need to learn research. And another way you're doing that is through MUN. So that's great. Researching your country's stance, I'm sure. Right? And negotiation. So I think negotiation is really a life skill as much as it is an entrepreneurial skill. Definitely hone that through MUNs, through your moderated caucuses, and continue practicing negotiation. Leadership, someone mentioned that through the chats. Leadership is extremely important, as you'll be leading your team through an entrepreneurial venture. And leadership, you should know, is more than just a managerial position. As a leader, you need to understand and listen to your other team members' perspectives to be able to benefit them, as well as benefit your own cause, your passion. Now, I'll be moving on into the skills that are sort of focused towards entrepreneurship, and some of you actually mentioned these. So first of all, marketing. Marketing is extremely important to make sure that your project isn't just sitting up in your basement. It's actually having impact, right? Also, finance. Now, finance isn't something many of you might have to worry about when you're first starting out. But I will say that when you have the extra time, do educate yourself. When you find yourself with finances to handle, you may not find yourself as available with time either. So make good use of your time, and that leads me into my next point, which is time management. Make sure you manage your time wisely, because it is one of the most valuable assets you do have. And on that note, be sure to be adaptable. So that doesn't mean create a really tight routine that you will not be able to follow up with, but it means, since entrepreneurship is a very not unstable path, you may not know what's going on all the time, and you need to be adaptable with your time, but still manage to find structure and get the things that need to be done. So continue doing your MUNs and honing all your skills. And I want to hear in the chat now, what are some things that you have passions that you're planning on? What are your entrepreneurial ventures, since you are in the entrepreneurship track? Let me hear. Yeah, I can repeat the question. So what are some of your entrepreneurial ventures? What are you guys working on right now? I'd love to hear. And if you don't have an entrepreneurial venture, what are your plans? What are you thinking of? Because you are in the entrepreneurship track, so I'm assuming you all want to be entrepreneurs, and you'd be awesome ones, I know. Preparing for SAT. Currently interning at a marketing company. Awesome. Technology. Yes, that's great. Technology is a really really way to impact so many people across the world. Media, working on a blog, starting some clubs for different social issues. That's awesome. Making a plan for the next 10 years. You're working on that? That's cool. I would say be more adaptable. um, Also doing MUN. Awesome. Working on technology and environmental projects. Awesome. Oh, your first MUN. I hope it's been fun for you. Working on different clubs to raise awareness. Raising awareness is so important. I'm so happy to see that. All right. I have a question: how to approach your ideas and execute them. Well, maybe I'll be able to answer your question as we continue, since this is only the first slide. If not, bring it up again in the Q&A. Climate control projects. Climate control is so important in the current situation that It's really urgent, so I'm really glad to see some people working on that. All right. So execution, as one of you just mentioned, planning, be feasible, and make sure to have SMART goals. Now I want to ask you a question. Is saying I want to work out a SMART goal? Let me hear what you think. Yes or no? Yeah? Some no, yes, no? Yeah? No? No, no, no? Mhm. No, okay, so now there's a lot of no's. 'Cause you're working on yourself? Well, no, I would say working on yourself is important. But the reason this isn't a SMART goal is because it's not very, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, or time-based. Yes, that's a mouthful again, sorry, I tend to like doing those. But saying I want to work out is a um, very vague goal, and it's not something that's likely to happen. So when I say I want to work out, let me try and be a bit more specific. I'm going to go running. Let's try and make that measurable. I'm going to run for 10 miles 10 miles. Wait, let's let's make that attainable, not 10 miles. I'm going to run for 1 mile. Relevant. I don't think that's very applicable in this situation, but time-based. I'm going to run for 1 mile every day for the next 1 month. There you go. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based. That's smart now. And now I want to hear some of your SMART goals. Can you come up with some SMART goals and share them with me? I'll give you a minute or two. Think of something that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Maybe something linked to your own project. I see some of you are starting clubs, hosting awareness events. Tell me a SMART goal that you have. Starting an NGO is a very vague, major milestone, but you need to come up with SMART goals to achieve that. Creating an economics club is also a very vague goal. Creating posts on Insta for awareness is a very vague goal. Let me try and fix those. Okay, now we got one. Write 500 words each day until I finish writing my book. Why is this a very smart goal? Well, because it's specific. What are you doing? You're writing words. Is it measurable? Yes, 500 words. Is it attainable? Yes, 500 words isn't too much. Is it relevant? Well, you're trying to write a book, so words are relevant to writing books. Is it time-based? Until you finish writing your book. So awesome. Why is creating an economics club at school not a very smart goal? According to the framework. Now, when we're saying smart, I don't mean the definition smart. Obviously, these are great things that you guys are putting down there, and I'm so happy to see that you guys are working on such awesome things. But smart, according to our framework, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based, not so much. So creating an economics club at school. Let's try and make that smart. So specific. I will reach out to my school teacher, measurable, on Tuesday, attainable, because I do have school, relevant. Yes, that will help me to create my economics goal, time-based. We already said Sunday. So that's kind of a smart goal. It's not a very long-term thing. It's a very short-term thing, but those are the kind of goals that you want to come up with to be able to achieve. Don't come up with very vague things because those don't tend to happen. I want to learn more about artificial intelligence. I will revise every day for 1 hour for 1 month. That's awesome. And I'd love to help. Uh, preparing one chapter each day for the final exam. Awesome. So I see they're getting better, and I hope you all got the idea. So the tip I'll leave you with is you want to create an overview plan with your major milestones, as well as more measurable steps that you will take to achieve them. So, for example, my major milestone would be I'm going to run a marathon, which is like 43 miles. And then the SMART goals that I would take would be, okay, one SMART goal would be run every day for a mile for 1 month. And then the next month, run every day a mile for 2 miles for a month. And so kind of SMART goals to achieve your major milestones. All right. Now, moving on to outreach. Again, I want to say build a team equally as passionate as you. Now, if you find someone who's not very passionate, don't be like, okay, bye-bye, you're not passionate. What I would say is people aren't born with passion. Um, preach awareness, show people what your cause is, and really, in all honesty, people tend to become passionate. Passion is contagious. Aim for a team with complementary skill sets. So if I'm really good at reading but I'm terrible at writing, I try to find someone good at writing. Now that's just an example. I'm good at both, but that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Try to find other people to fill in your weaknesses. And again, constantly gain feedback from your supporters, your friends, your family, and even strangers. And you guys are actually doing an awesome job with that, because a great way to network with like-minded peers is through MUN. Have you guys considered how all of you are here? You're in the entrepreneurship track. You're all passionate. I see so many awesome things coming through the chat. Connect with each other, and really, that's an awesome way for you to advance your own goals and make an impact in the world. We before me. All right. Now keep going. Don't stop, even if you hit roadblocks, because that is inevitable with entrepreneurial ventures. Adapt and be resilient to the obstacles that are sure to come. Think outside of the box to come up with new solutions. And here, actually, when it comes to thinking outside of the box, I will mention to you a story of Henry Ford, which I found quite interesting. So Henry Ford is the guy who came up with General Motors, the first automobile. And he said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So when you're listening to people and you're trying to find solutions to a problem, don't think inside of that limited box. So what the people wanted was to get to their place, to their location faster. They wanted faster transportation. What did they use as transportation? Horses. So what did they say? We want faster horses. If Henry Ford had started breeding horses, then we'd be walking around everywhere, possibly. But he thought outside of the box and thought, why not build an automobile, achieving the root cause, the roots thing, which is getting faster transportation, but he thought completely out of the box. So I think that's kind of really important. And the same thing kind of with LiveX. If I would ask people what they want, they might say cheaper psychologists. But I got to the root of the problem would be that they want or they would want private psychologists. So the root of the problem would be that they want privacy. Instead of trying to make psychologists more private, I thought, why don't we use tech? So maybe let me hear what you guys think. What do you guys think about this? How can you think outside of the box and come up with unconventional solutions to things? What are your ideas? And I'd love to see your faces if you want. Oh, oops. Sorry. 1 second. So I'm still waiting for the chat. Awesome. Thank you all. I'm not talking to black boxes anymore. So any ideas you have? All right, we can get back to this if you all want to take your time writing. So the next segment is taking action, raising awareness. So as I mentioned previously with LiveX, raising awareness is really a way that you can have impact. Don't think that, oh, it's just something other people are doing it. You yourself as a teenager, as a student, have the ability to make such a tangible and real impact, you'd be surprised. I was surprised last week when I held presentations. I got so many comments of people telling me how much I was able to help, and it really is fulfilling. And I'll tell you, you really should consider doing it, and don't shy away because you think it won't help, because it really will. I'm clicking around a lot. So, starting with your friends. Talk to your friends about issues. Share with them ways that they can help. First, start with your own small circle, because if you think about it in a way, if everyone in the world were to start with their neighbors, the whole entire world would be reached. Start at your own home, start with your family, start with your friends, and from there move on, definitely. Think about your school. You can start a club at school. Some of you guys are mentioning this in the chat. It's a really great way to spread awareness. It's a really great way to have an impact and get people just as passionate as you involved. You can hold fundraising events at your school. You can write articles for the school paper. And really, if you don't have a school paper, start one. It's a great way to spread awareness, right? And don't be afraid that they might not accept your article, because you write an article, and if they don't accept it, it's their problem. But you have to really try and put yourself out there, step outside your comfort zone, and really try to spread awareness. Create posters and brochures for school. So I will mention that creating brochures during a pandemic isn't the smartest idea, but maybe later. Definitely make posters, stick them on the wall, let people see your passion and let them see what's going on. Some people saying no such friends would listen. And I'll add, well, maybe they don't listen, but you've done your part. And at the end of the day, you don't really know whether they haven't listened. If you're telling someone about sustainability and you think they don't listen, but they could, maybe the next time they're going shopping, they don't use plastic bags. You really don't know the impact you're able to have. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. Then move on to your community. Hold community fundraising events. And I know there's a typo right there, but hold community fundraising events, hold community-wide educational events, get in touch with your local organizations, and really see how can you outreach, how can you reach more people in your own community. Again, brochures, probably not right now, but maybe ask permission and post posters around your city. And then media. So now again, as I've been mentioning, technology is a huge force for good. It can impact so many people all over the world. And so some ways you can use it is create a website, as I actually saw one or two of you did. Publish relevant articles about what you're passionate about, what you're raising awareness for. Write articles for your local newspaper. Again, they may not publish it, but it's worth a shot. Use social media to post informative content, because you don't know who will see. Don't feel discouraged, because you really don't know the ripple impact you are able to have. And now, I think we've made pretty good time. Let's go into some of the questions that I may have missed. And really put down anything. Put down anything right now. Let's discuss. If any of you want to chat as well, if you want to share your thoughts, raise your hand, and we can hear you as well.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
How did you first how did you first learn about psychology in the first place, and how did you expand your knowledge about it more?
Oh, well, that's a great question. So, with psychology, I think I really love knowing the intricacies of things, how things work behind the scenes, how do people kind of act. So I'm not quite sure. I really don't remember where my first exposure to psychology came, but I do know is that I've researched online through, there's lots of websites about psychology, and then I took a course on psychology. I self-studied so definitely what I'll give you a pointer is Coursera and edX. You can take online courses on virtually anything. So I did take a psychology course on Coursera. It was called Introduction to Psychology by a Yale professor. And you can learn from such credible people literally just through Coursera and edX about anything, like I already said. You can also go on YouTube. There's a channel called Crash Course, which also teaches about entrepreneurship, and I wanted to mention this. And so, yeah, I've been able to take a course, and then that made me self-study AP psychology as well. And then that sort of led to me just expanding from there, talking to people and learning from anywhere. Books are a great way to learn. And yeah, that's kind of how psychology. I've loved psychology. Oh, and see, someone else has done the same course. That's great. Um,
I actually did that same course.
oh, that's awesome. I'll leave my email in the chat if any of you also want to get in touch with me. And I and LinkedIn and my Instagram, Facebook, and my company page are all in the chat right now. So I really hope you all will follow. Okay, some more questions. And it was great to hear from you, Mario. How can you determine your goal when you have lots of different interests, such as businesses, language, politics, and physics? Awesome. That's a great question. So yeah, even me, I love psychology, I love education, I love business, and I love technology. So that's a great question. What I would say is don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. And most people will tell you to stick to one thing, but my own advice is get out and do everything. And through doing so many things, you will be able to sort of find the intersections between fields. So for example, with LiveX, it's not just psychology, but there's also technology, artificial intelligence, business, it's an entrepreneurial venture. And I kind of combined all of my interests into one big melting pot. Don't feel that you're limited to the traditional routes. Definitely see how you can combine all your different loves in all of your different fields, and find those intersections, because that's where real new and original ideas originate from. How can you describe entrepreneurship with your experience and words? Well, entrepreneurship is fun. It's really fun. It's really unpredictable. You really don't know what you're doing, and it's really fun. That's how I would describe it. Would you apply psychology to entrepreneurship in terms of reading people and finding good investors? In terms of reading people and finding good investors. So you're asking if I'm applying the learnings of psychology in my entrepreneurial. Yeah, actually, yeah. So I think, I hope I'm answering your question correctly. Yeah, when the science of psychology really does have its applications in real life, and I would suggest really anyone in any field to go out and learn some psychology, because it really opens your eyes to other people's perspectives, and it would help in entrepreneurship. How did you start being entrepreneur? Well, it wasn't really like I set out one morning. I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. But I did come up with this idea, and I wanted to put it into action. And so I was thinking, how can I do that? And that's kind of what entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship really is when you have something you want to do, when you have a project that you want to put into action, and you're taking the steps to sort of do that, starting from scratch. So yeah. Any other questions? Anyone want to talk? You can raise your hand. There's this button thing in the participants box if you click it, and you can raise your hand. At what age did I start? Well, I started a couple months ago, and I'm 17 years old. But you can start really whenever. I wouldn't say there's an age limit. I wouldn't say there's a minimum age. There's nothing. When you want to do something, when you set your mind to something, And I know this is so cliche, but you really can do it. How to get someone to mentor you. Cold mailing is an option, but another approachable way. So again, I will emphasize, yeah, cold emailing is awesome. Another way to do that would be, don't be afraid to talk to people that you meet, right? Don't be afraid to, if you just meet someone that you think is really awesome, talk to them. Tell them why you think they're awesome. Tell them why you're awesome. Tell them why you think they're awesome. Tell them why you're awesome, because you are, and sort of tell them what is it that you're working on, and ask them, hey, like what I did was when I was talking to some people, I'm like, hi, I actually wanted to hear what you think about this, and I kind of just showed them my slide deck, which is also a pointer that something, if you're starting an entrepreneurial venture, probably have a slide deck of your, like a pitch deck. You can search that up and make one of those, and just show people, have that on hand all the time. Ask them what they think, and then tell them, would you like to be my advisor? I'd love to have your advice. I'd love to have your mentorship. And rarely do people say no. What advice will you give to someone who is starting who is starting entrepreneurship and raising awareness? So I will say that you're awesome, okay? And definitely know that whatever you're doing will have its impact, whether you can see it or not, whether it's tangible or not. What you're doing will have its impact, and brace yourself for obstacles, brace yourself for failures, brace yourself for criticism, but also brace yourself knowing, but also know that you're having a real tangible impact. And that's the thing that will keep you going. That's my advice. Always keep that in mind. So um how to connect to people in the local area during the pandemic. Well, it's a funny thing. Actually, this whole venture started right after the pandemic hit. I only came up with Livex a couple months ago, say starting in March. So I would say, do not think of the pandemic as an excuse to sort of sit at home and do nothing. You can definitely get in touch with people even during a pandemic through your phone, through your laptop, through whatever it is, through social media, through email, through LinkedIn, like I mentioned. Get in touch with people you know, and try and get in touch with people you don't know through just talking to them. Say, hey, do you know someone who's interested in psychology? You can go to your teachers. You can really, there's just, don't think inside of a simple box. Really expand your reach. Email organizations, email things. You never know who might reply. So I might mention you all to turn on your cameras since that's going on in the chat. And yeah, I love seeing your faces, not talking to black boxes. Any other questions? I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your voices.
Yeah, I have something to say.
Mhm.
First of all, I really like your go for it mentality. I think it's super crucial that you take advantage of all opportunities. Do you think the presence of such opportunities depend on the location or economic situation or any other factors of a person?
Well, I will definitely agree to to the fact that location and economic things could pose a problem, but only if you think of yourself in that sort of limited box, if you put yourself into that box. But maybe you won't be able to achieve some solutions that people in different locations and different economic situations could. But you yourself have that presents to you a unique situation, that presents to you you can come up with something unconventional. Think outside of the box when you find yourself in that kind of situation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for talking. So I'll just wait for more people to talk because I finished my presentation faster than I thought I would. So you can put your questions through the chat as well if you don't feel comfortable talking. And really just thoughts. It doesn't have to be questions for me. What are some things you're working on? Tell me about them. Let's see. Let's connect with each other. Let's have a little bit of a discussion. And if you're not talking, could you please kind of mute your mic? Oh, so someone said it helped a lot. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to have helped. Any questions? Anyone want to mention a thought? Oh, great. So here's some questions. What was the hardest thing for you when you started, Mario? Okay. Well, the hardest thing for me would definitely have been, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to start? I have this kind of idea, but how am I supposed to like bring it into action? I can't exactly code. So yeah, that was that was the hardest thing for me, figuring out where to start. And I definitely still don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing a lot of things, and it's kind of like entrepreneurship is really unpredictable. You're just doing so much, and it's awesome. To add on to Ilya's point, I hope I'm saying your name right. How can people overcome the lack of opportunities? Well, how can you overcome the lack of opportunities? I'll say, first of all, don't think of yourself. Don't put yourself into that box that you're lacking opportunities. Uh, for example, with LiveX, it wasn't something where I had an opportunity. There was no one telling me, okay, you should do this or anything. It's sort of something that I brought up, and I've just been reaching out. That's how I feel like you can overcome the lack of opportunities. It's through people. It's through reaching out. It's through cold emailing. It's through getting other people to support your cause. It's through organizations and causes all across the world. Not only, don't limit yourself to location. Definitely, when we have technology, there's no excuse for you to limit yourself with geographic barriers. And someone's asking me, did I learn to code? Well, I signed up for some coding courses, but I wouldn't call myself an expert just yet. How to be good with technology as an entrepreneur? How should I answer that? How to be good with technology as an entrepreneur? Well, I'll say you can take courses. I'll say again, Coursera and edX often have so much to offer in terms of technology information as well. That's where I kind of learned coding. I took some coding courses. And yeah, I mean, use technology, practice using technology, you'll get better at it. As an entrepreneur, I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question. Maybe you can be a bit more specific if that didn't answer. Vishwa. And then Zain is asking me, are you majoring in psychology or planning to major in it? Well, I'm a senior in high school. I don't know if I mentioned. And I am planning to major in psychology. I'm planning to do a double major, one in psychology and one in science, technology, and society, which is STS, another major. According to you, is it very important to learn coding? No, it is not very important to learn coding, because if you ask me to code something, probably couldn't code it. I would say if you have a technology entrepreneurial venture, a tech focused, what you want to do is be able to educate yourself in terms that you know the functionality of technology, right? So when I said AI, I want AI to do this, like I didn't really know if AI could actually do that. So kind of learn the potential, kind of learn the limitations, kind of learn the extent of how you can use technology. I wouldn't say you need to go and learn coding. I really wouldn't. It's not important as an entrepreneur, even if you are a technology entrepreneur. Definitely, you need people on your team to be able to. But for you, I don't think so. How to convince people about the importance of your idea? Well, one great way to do that is show statistics. Use statistics, and like, okay, as an entrepreneur, I get why this is a question being asked, how to convince people about the importance of your idea. And one major roadblock that I faced was, what's that actually? in recent months. So a way to overcome that is with data, hard stats. And what I've been doing is actually putting out surveys, and I actually asked you guys to maybe fill mine out. I'll put my website down if you want to see that. Use surveys. That's my advice. So for example, what I did was get questions asking, for example, have you faced mental health issues? Would you use Livex to help? Those kind of hard statistics, saying, being able to say 80% of people said they would use Livex to help their mental health, really helps convince people of the importance and actual feasibility of your idea. All right. How will entrepreneurship evolve? So Nora's asking, how will entrepreneurship evolve as new technologies are invented? And I think that's a great question, and one that's beautiful in its mystery. So we don't really know how technology is going to evolve. It's awesome how fast and how uh, really fast paced tech is moving. And I think entrepreneurship will sort of follow that same trend. As new technologies are invented, people will continue entrepreneurial ventures with those new technologies, and that will bring on more and push for more new technologies, and that will it's a kind of like a never-ending cycle. There is a possibility that robots will take our place in the future. Yes, I do agree. I do agree.
I have a question.
Yeah, Anshel, go ahead.
Can you just list some, made mistakes by startup entrepreneurs, biggest mistakes that they make, frequently made mistakes?
Okay. Biggest mistakes. Well, for one, sitting up in your basement or sitting down in your basement, sorry, sitting down in your basement and keeping your entrepreneurial venture to yourself, not reaching out, not getting a team, not getting to people. That's a major pitfall when you're trying to just work on something yourself. That's going to be your biggest roadblock. Um, Another big mistake. Well, definitely outreach is one thing that I can think of off the top of my head. And another big mistake would be not educating yourself, just having a very vague idea and then sitting back and sort of expecting it to sort of um, flourish. You need to be able to first plan, educate yourself. So those are three major pitfalls would be not doing outreach, not educating yourself, and not planning, which are things that I hope I've pointed out to everyone, and you all won't make those mistakes. Um, and yeah, those three are the things. I hope that answered your
Thank
question.
you.
Of course. Okay, let's go on to another questions. I see some in the chat. It's hard to convince everyone, especially the elder ones, that we really want to start doing something. I believe it's a good opportunity to engage myself in different organizations to see the practical aspect in our own locality first. But age factor is an issue here. Only above 18 people are allowed to be a part. How to overcome all these? Okay, well, that kind of reminds me, that above 18 part kind of reminds me. I'm 17 myself, and I don't really limit myself when I see, okay, 18 plus. Here's something where cold emailing can go into play. So if I see a competition that I really want to enter, but it says 18 plus only, I'll email them and I'll ask, hey, I'm 17, but here's my idea. Do you think I could still take part? Don't limit yourself to the limitations people set. Try and just cold email. It could work, and that's one kind of tip I'll give. But I do understand how people may not take you seriously, which is why um, you want to just keep doing, and once you're at a certain point, they will definitely have to take um attention to you when you've, for example, don't just wait around for people to listen. So go ahead, make your slide deck, work on your project, teach yourself coding, do outreach, do all the things you need, because you don't really need people to accept or people to listen at first. when you're first starting out. There's a lot of things you can be doing just on your own to convince them first. How did you find your team that helped you with LiveX? How did you select the people you work with now? So how did I find my team? Well, first of all, I kind of just reached out to my friends. I reached out to family. I reached out um, to these people, obviously. But the thing is, you would find for about a month or so, I was working on this project, like getting documents, getting actual tangible things, and that's when I could start outreach. So I do think that this is something pointed out to me that I didn't quite mention. But to be able to convince people of the importance of your project, you need to have substance yourself. You need to have researched a topic thoroughly yourself, educated yourself thoroughly, have a pitch deck, have something to show for, and that's how you'll be able to get so many people on board. How did I select the people? Well, I didn't really select. If I find someone who's passionate, sure, let's work together. Um and yeah, also I'll add cold emailing. I didn't know like most of my team is just through me cold emailing random people. So, yeah. Yes, many people judge you because of how old you are. I'm 11 and I have to try extra hard to make an impact, even if it's small. That's so awesome. Uh, Even if people judge you, let them. It doesn't matter because the impact that you're having, even if it is small, you may think it's small, but it really has a ripple effect. That's something that I think it's so beautiful. It's that you don't know the actual impact you're having. You never know, but it could be so huge and it could last for centuries. All right. So I think I'll take one more question and then we're done. With starting our own projects, it can be difficult to widen the reach of our project as it starts off as being very small scale. How can we effectively expand it in reaching a bigger audience to achieve more engagement within the community? Well, what I'll say through that is outreach to local organizations, reach out to local global organizations, really reach out to random people, reach out everywhere, marketing, social media, websites, um, and really that's how you can outreach, and that's how you can get the word out, and that's how you'll be able to really expand and scale your project through marketing and stuff. So, did I do MUN? Yes, I did. Now I don't think I'll be able to take any more questions, but it was so nice hearing from you all, talking to you all, answering your questions. I really hope I was able to help. Um, Lovely seeing your faces. Thank you for turning on your cameras. And yeah, I hope be happy, smile, have a great day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your MUN. And thank you for the clappy faces and the smiley faces. Uh, thank you. And it was really lovely to give this workshop. And yeah, I think we're going to be moving on. Enjoy the rest of your MUN. And bye. Be happy. Smile.